Yeah, just overall general insanity. Hey guys, I'm Cindy, aka The Sub, and today we're going to talk about transitions. So in case you're interested, I just finished filming a video all about attention grabbers. And I explained in that video that attention grabbers are one of those things that were never really explicitly taught as undergraduate students. And if we learn them in our student teaching, it's most likely something we just picked up from our mentor teachers, and we just kind of replicate but don't really understand why. And if you want to check out that video, I'll have the link down below. But just like attention grabbers, transitions are one of those things that we are never taught as undergraduates. And if we are substitute teachers, we are definitely not taught about the importance of transitions. So if you're a teacher who wants to know more about transitions, why we do them, and how to do them, then this video is definitely for you. So let's first talk about what are transitions. Transition basically means a change from one thing to another. One lesson in your classroom to another lesson in your classroom, or from your classroom space to another space in the school. So there are transitions, and then there are effective transitions. You can tell a group of students, okay, I need you to put your books away and go to the carpet for math time. All kids can do that. But let's be honest, what you actually meant was, I want you to carefully and quietly and efficiently put your reading materials away and move safely and calmly to the carpet for math, right? But if you don't explain that to students, what are you going to get? Stampede is the first word that comes to mind. Chaos. Yeah, just overall general insanity. So let's talk about what makes an effective transition. For students, transitioning from one location in the classroom or in the school to another one is a social time. It's a great time for students to kind of de-stress, catch up with other students. I mean, think about it. Whenever you are with a group of your friends, whether it's going to a staff meeting or going out to dinner, you want to talk, right? You want to catch up. And that's a really important part of being a part of a classroom community. And so transitions are a social time, but what you want students to do is to do and go where they're asked to go, but in a very effective, safe, and focused manner. So here are some do's for transitions in your classroom. Number one, when implementing transitions, make sure to give students a time warning by telling students, okay, you have 5 more minutes before you're going to clean up, or in 3 minutes, I'm going to ask you to put your materials away and meet me on the carpet for reading time. You are going to be giving your students ample time to prepare for that transition. If you just say, okay, you're working, I need you to clean up and meet me on the carpet, that might be difficult for students, even students who don't struggle with anxiety and don't struggle with behavior problems. So be sure to give your students ample time and multiple warnings that a transition is coming to help them most effectively prepare and be successful at transitioning. Tip number 2, hold all of your students accountable for transitioning. Do not begin a lesson or leave the classroom into the hallway until you have all students successfully transitioned just the way you want them to. Now, this is the real world, and you're probably going to have 1 or 2 students who don't follow the transition expectations perfectly. Somebody who maybe is dancing in line, talking to their neighbor, has their hands on, the person next door to them. All I usually do is just say their name, and that's enough to get them refocused and pulled back together. John? That's it. Say their name, give them that look. Pulls them right back in. Tip number 3, when you prepare to transition your students, tell them exactly what you want to see. So for example, I might say, when I say melt, I want you to put your reading books in your book baskets and walk quietly to the carpet and sit down and prepare for math. You could also say, when I ring the bell, that is your signal to push in your chairs, walk to your lockers, pull out your lunches and line up quietly for lunchtime. Just by saying what you want to see sets students up for success because it holds them accountable and reminds them of exactly what you expect them to do. Tip number 4, as students are transitioning, make your presence known. Be constantly circulating around the classroom and praising what students are doing correctly. For example, if my students are transitioning to lunch and they're putting their reading materials away and getting out their lunches and lining up, I might walk around the room and say, ooh, I see students who are pushing in their chairs. I see students who are walking quietly to their lockers. I see students who are lining up with their hands to themselves and their voice is quiet. They are ready for lunchtime. If you stay in one spot and students don't know that you are out there and watching them, they're more likely to act up during those transitions and not follow your expectations. Only 2 more do's, so bear with me. Tip number 5, model and practice. So if you watch my video about tension grabbers, then you'll know the importance of modeling and practicing until you are blue in the face so that your students know exactly what to expect when you give a direction. Same thing with transitions. You can't just expect a group of 5 and 6-year-olds to know what to do when you say, okay, it's time for recess. You actually have to show them what you mean when you say, okay, now it is time for recess. I want you to stand up with your hands to yourselves, your voice is quiet, to line up at the door and wait until I give you the signal to go outside. Remember, the younger the students are, the more practice and the more modeling that you will need to do to ensure that they're successful. And finally, tip number 6, keep your expectations reasonable. Again, transitioning from reading to lunch, from lunch to recess, from math to dismissal at the end of the day, students want to socialize with each other. It's a great way for them to distress and just kind of catch up with each other. And so be realistic in your expectations. It is not realistic for your students to be quiet all day long. Kids are loud. They are expressive. They are social. They want to skip. They want to move. Be okay with that and teach them what sort of behaviors and movements and voice level are appropriate for you and in your classroom, and show them what that looks like and what that sounds like. So here are some of my favorite transition ideas. Now, you may go onto Pinterest, you may go onto a website or to a blog and get other ideas, and that's great. There are literally hundreds of different ways to transition your students throughout the day. You have to pick what is best for you and what's best for your students. But if you have no place where to start, or you're just looking for a few fresh new ideas, here are some of my favorite ideas. One way to transition your students from one part of your day to another is to play music. I know teachers who have specific playlists depending on what they want the students to do at what time of the day. They have a good morning song that welcomes students as they enter the classroom, and when students hear that music, they know that's their signal to unpack, get their tools ready, and to sit at their desks or meet on the carpet or whatever the teacher's expectations are. For me, I always like to play quiet classical music during work time. So when students heard that music, they knew, oh, my voice needs to be at a whisper and I need to be focused in doing my job. And then when the music stops, my teacher is going to transition me to a different activity. When you want students to move to a certain space, a really effective way to get them to move efficiently is to count down. So remember, if you're going to use a countdown method, make sure that students know exactly what you expect by the time you get to 0. So you might say, okay, I'm going to count down from 10. When I get to 0, I expect to see students sitting on the carpet in their spots with their hands to themselves and a quiet voice. Some teachers also like to use a chant to gather students on the carpet. One chant I always used to use was, we are gathering on the rug. Everybody's here now, finding their own space. Now we are here. As you can tell, I moonlight as a singer. When students meet on the carpet or at their desks, and as you're preparing to begin a lesson, make sure that students are calm and focused and prepared for their next learning. So you might have students take a few deep breaths. You also might remind students to get into their learning position. Listening eyes, listening ears, quiet voices, bodies in control. Another simple, easy way to get students focused and ready to learn is just by saying what you see. Oh, I see this row of students has their hands to themselves, their eyes are on me, listening ears, quiet voices. Oh, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 students who came to the carpet with their pencils. Oh, I see this whole side of the class is sitting crisscross with their hands in their lap. Oh, now this side of the class is sitting crisscross with their hands in their lap. Just say what you see and it works every time to get students to do exactly what you want them to do. Now let's say you're trying to transition your students from the classroom to another space in the school, such as the lunchroom or the gymnasium. A lot of teachers have little songs and chants that they sing and recite to make sure students are in line, quiet, with their hands to themselves, their eyes looking forward. You also might do something called ducktail and bubbles. Students' hands are behind them, making little ducktails and bubbles in their cheeks. Another easy way to transition students from the classroom to outside the classroom is just, again, by saying what you see. Oh, I see almost everybody in the class has their hands to themselves and quiet voices. We're just waiting on 3 people. Okay, now everybody has quiet voices and their hands to themselves. We are ready to leave. As you walk down the hallway, make sure that you are monitoring your whole class and that those students at the very, very end know that you are also paying attention to them. It's very easy for teachers to go down the hallway at the front of the line with their back turned towards the rest of the class, and that's where you're going to get your behavior issues. If one student is really struggling to walk quietly and appropriately down the hallway, all I ever have to say is, oh, so-and-so, do you need to hold my hand to help you walk down the hallway? And 9 times out of 10, that student, surprise, doesn't need my help walking down the hallway. So now I want to hear from you. What are your favorite ways to transition your students in your classroom? Be sure to leave a comment with your tips down below, and let's see how many transition tips we can get and share with each other. If you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Bye!